By the late 1800s, Chicago had transformed from a small frontier town into one of America's most dynamic cities. A sprawling metropolis rising from the prairie, shaped by ambition, industry, and the relentless movement of people seeking opportunity. Within just a few decades, this city would be rebuilt from ashes, redefined by innovation, and established as the heartland of American commerce. In this video, I use modern AI tools to bring historic photographs, maps, and illustrations to life, shifting perspective, changing angles, and moving through these scenes in ways their original creators never imagined. The goal isn't simply to observe the past, but to step directly into it, to walk through Chicago as it once existed and feel what it might have been like to stand on these very streets during one of the most transformative periods in American history. And if you stay with me until the end, we'll compare these same locations to how they appear today, discovering what time has erased and what still endures. Before we enter the bustling streets of late 19th century Chicago, it helps to understand how this remarkable story began. This illustration shows the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, a catastrophic event that would paradoxically become the foundation for the city's greatest period of growth. For 3 days in October, flames consumed over 3 square miles of the city, destroying thousands of buildings and leaving more than 100,000 residents homeless. Imagine watching your entire world disappear in smoke and ash, not knowing if anything familiar would remain when the fires finally died. Yet from this destruction came an unprecedented opportunity to rebuild, to reimagine what a modern American city could become. This photograph captures State Street in the 1880s, already transformed into one of the busiest commercial corridors in the nation. Just a decade after the fire, Chicago had not only recovered but had grown into something far more impressive than what had been lost. The wide streets, the substantial brick and stone buildings, the constant flow of horse-drawn carriages and pedestrians, all of this represented a city that refused to merely rebuild, but instead chose to reinvent itself entirely. Standing here, you can almost feel the energy that must have filled these streets. The sound of wheels on cobblestones, the calls of merchants, the sense that anything was possible in a place growing this rapidly. This scene shows the Chicago River as it appeared in the 1890s, crowded with vessels that connected the city to the Great Lakes and beyond. The river wasn't just a waterway, but the lifeline that made Chicago's explosive growth possible. Grain from the western prairies, lumber from northern forests, coal from southern mines, all of it flowed through this narrow channel that split the city into distinct sections. From this vantage point, you can see how the river functioned as both highway and boundary, bringing wealth while also creating the geographic divisions that would shape Chicago's neighborhoods for generations to come. This remarkable image shows the construction of the world's Columbian Exposition in 1893, an event that would announce Chicago's arrival as a world-class city. The Exposition grounds stretched across more than 600 acres along Lake Michigan, featuring grand neoclassical buildings designed to showcase American achievement and progress. For visitors arriving from around the globe, this was their introduction to what America could accomplish. Temporary structures built to look like permanent monuments, creating a vision of urban beauty that would influence city planning across the nation. Walking through these gleaming white buildings, surrounded by gardens and fountains, visitors felt as though they had stepped into a vision of the future. This photograph captures the bustling activity at Union Stockyards in the 1880s, the massive complex that earned Chicago its reputation as the nation's meatpacking capital. Stretching across more than 400 acres, the stockyards processed millions of cattle, hogs, and sheep each year, feeding a growing nation while creating fortunes for those who controlled the trade. The scale of this operation was unlike anything the world had seen before. Entire neighborhoods grew around the yards, filled with workers from across Europe and the American South, all drawn by the promise of steady wages in a booming industry. This scene shows Michigan Avenue as it appeared in the 1890s, already emerging as one of the city's most fashionable districts. Elegant buildings lined the wide boulevard, while well-dressed residents strolled beneath the shade of newly planted trees. This was Chicago attempting to prove that a frontier city could match the sophistication of Eastern establishments. For those who lived through the fire and the rapid Reconstruction, Michigan Avenue represented something profound. Not just recovery, but transformation into something greater than what had existed before. This view shows the towering grain elevators that dominated Chicago's skyline along the lakefront in the 1890s. These massive wooden structures, some rising 8 stories high, represented the mechanical ingenuity that made Chicago the grain capital of the world. Wheat from Minnesota and the Dakotas, corn from Iowa and Illinois, all of it funneled through these enormous storage facilities before being loaded onto ships bound for Eastern markets. Standing at the base of these giants, you would have heard the constant rumble of machinery, the whistle of steam engines, and the shouts of workers moving millions of bushels through a system that operated around the clock. The dust from grain handling hung in the air like fog, and the entire district smelled of wheat and steam and industrial progress. This photograph captures the interior of Marshall Field and Company in the 1890s, one of Chicago's great department stores. These retail palaces transformed shopping from necessity into spectacle, with soaring ceilings, elaborate displays, and an atmosphere designed to make customers feel they were experiencing something extraordinary. For women arriving from smaller towns across the Midwest, these stores represented a glimpse into urban sophistication they had only imagined. The wide aisles, the electric lighting, the endless variety of goods from around the world, all of it suggested that Chicago had become a place where desires could be fulfilled and dreams could be purchased. This scene shows the construction of the Chicago Elevated Railway System in the 1890s, an engineering marvel that would reshape how people moved through the expanding city. Steel tracks rose above the crowded streets, carrying passengers above the chaos of ground-level traffic, while connecting distant neighborhoods to the downtown core. These iron structures represented not just transportation, but transformation. The elevated trains would allow the city to spread outward across the prairie, while keeping its commercial heart accessible to workers living miles away. This image depicts one of Chicago's immigrant neighborhoods in the late 1880s, where families from Germany, Ireland, Poland, and Bohemia created communities that preserved their traditions while adapting to American life. Wooden tenements lined narrow streets where multiple languages mixed with English, creating a sound unlike anywhere else in the nation. Walking through these districts, you would have encountered the aroma of unfamiliar cooking, the sound of children playing games from distant countries, and the sight of adults working to build new lives while maintaining connections to old worlds. These neighborhoods represented the human foundation upon which Chicago's industrial success was built. This photograph shows the Chicago Board of Trade building as it appeared in the 1890s, the nerve center where the prices of grain, livestock, and other commodities were determined for the entire nation. Inside this imposing structure, traders shouted bids and offers that would affect farmers from Nebraska to New York, creating fortunes and destroying them with equal speed. For visitors observing the trading floor, the scene must have appeared almost mystical. Hundreds of men gesturing wildly, chalkboards covered with constantly changing numbers, and the sense that invisible forces were shaping the economic destiny of millions of people across the continent. This scene captures one of Chicago's growing residential districts in the 1890s, where successful merchants and professionals built substantial homes that announced their prosperity. Tree-lined streets stretched toward the horizon, punctuated by churches, schools, and small parks that created a sense of established community despite the city's recent origins. These neighborhoods represented Chicago's attempt to prove that rapid growth didn't have to mean permanent chaos. Here, families could imagine a stable future while still participating in the dynamic energy that made the city so compelling to ambitious newcomers. This remarkable view shows the lakefront as it appeared on a summer evening in the 1890s, when families escaped the heat and noise of the city by gathering along the shores of Lake Michigan. The cool breeze from the water provided relief from the industrial smoke and dust that filled the air during working hours. From this peaceful vantage point, looking back toward the city's glowing windows and smoking chimneys, Chicago seemed like a miracle rising from the prairie. From the ashes of the Great Fire emerged not just a rebuilt city, but an entirely new vision of what an American metropolis could become. The bustling streets, the towering grain elevators, the elegant department stores, the immigrant neighborhoods, all of these elements combined to create something unprecedented. This was Chicago in its most transformative era, a city that refused to accept limits and instead chose to reinvent what was possible. Subscribe to the channel to explore ancient cities, vanished empires, and historic moments, all reconstructed through AI and historical research.